measuring stick just changed around here, buddy. You're looking at it.
You are now listening to the Outsiders Podcast, the most exciting and hard-hitting show on the net. And now, bringing it hard as always, here are your hosts, Clint Schweitzer and Noah Groniger.
Outsiders Podcast, Clint Schweitzer, Noah Groniger coming at you with our 2013 Wildcard Weekend Roundup. Some pretty good games in there. I'll tell you what, pretty chalk if you ask me, because you, my friend, picked 4 for 4.
That I did. I had the Seattle Seahawks. It was looking scary there for a while, down 14-0, but they came back behind limping RG3 and Marshawn Lynch. So,
well, and let's face it, a lot of talking heads really liked the Minnesota Vikings this week. I did not. I thought that was Green Bay all the way, and I would have, taken Green Bay in the points in that one. I think, really, Aaron Rodgers, get him in a playoff game. He seems to thrive. He only had 1 touchdown, but defense played well. They were able to just engulf, Adrian Peterson. When people said, "Oh, he's had 200 yards against him twice, he's going to kill him," no. As soon as it was found out that Ponder would not be playing, to me this was Green Bay.
Even with Ponder playing, I think it was Green Bay, but I didn't like their effort. I mean, with Joe Webb in there and stuffing Adrian Peterson, they still only win by 14. Come on, you should blow them out of the freaking stadium.
Well, and you know what? Green Bay, it actually, they always talk about their wonderful playoff record at Lambeau and the cold and all that, but what was it? Something I saw, they lost something like 4 of their last 6 playoff games at home, or it was.
Yeah, because when they went to the Super Bowl, they were the 6th
on the
seed,
road.
So they were on the road the whole way through. So
yeah, well, they've got their home monkey off their back here of late. I remember they lost the game. They lost.
That's easy with the Vikings and Joe Webb coming in there.
Oh, that Joe Webb was just, to me, looked like a disaster.
They would beat, or the Chiefs. So,
well, good point. Maybe the Jaguars. Let's talk about. Let's talk about Green Bay. This is a team that they were 11-5. I think they were a team better than their record indicates. But in the NFC, it is such a toss-up. Green Bay could win the Super Bowl, or they could lose this next week. We're going to see. But in this game against a divisional opponent, they showed up, took care of business at home, like you and I thought they would. I really think a lot of people, NFL Live, were picking the Vikings. I never saw it. I understand that they just had beaten them a week before, but that was
in the Metrodome. They barely beat them by 3. I mean, the cold weather, unfriendly confines of Lambeau Field. I mean, I thought it was going to be Christian Ponder. I thought he'd make 2-3 interceptions and cost his team the game, and they couldn't afford that. So,
well, as we move on, to the AFC side, let's talk about the Texans Bengals, because the Texans are a team that stumbled into the playoffs, and as a rule of thumb, I like teams that are winning, have big winning streaks going into the playoffs, and I hate teams that have losing streaks going into the playoffs. And the Texans had lost 3 of 4 going in. The defense has kind of crumbled. Matt Schaub wasn't looking very sharp. Andre Johnson had not quite been as big a threat down the stretch. But they show up, take care of business at home against Cincinnati, a team I thought was playing very well. And I thought Geno Atkins was going to be the difference maker in that game, and he wasn't. So,
no, I picked the Texans in this one. I had them by 10. They ended up winning by 6, I believe, 19-13. The Texans, I don't really trust Kubiak and Schaub, but against the Bengals, Marvin Lewis, I don't like the running game with BenJarvus Green-Ellis. Dalton was under pressure, kept getting his balls swatted down by J.J. Swat. And I just don't like the Bengals right now. They need to find a better running game. They need to find some safeties. I don't really like their linebackers other than Maluga. Burfict had a couple personal foul penalties in the game. I just don't think they're ready, and they were on the road. They were at Reliant Stadium, so I definitely had the Texans.
It was a rematch of a game last year in which the Bengals lost in the same stadium against a different quarterback. That was Matt Schaub's actually first playoff appearance, and a lot of people didn't realize that because he had been hurt last year.
T.J. Yates was last year. So.
Yeah, T.J. Yates was a year ago, and so the Texans advanced. Cincinnati's a team, I think, that really peaked. I mean, by that I mean they did about as well as they could have. That 10-6 record, they got to 10 wins. That was about their ceiling, I think, this year. And they got there. So give them credit, but also, like you said, lots of pieces to fill for next year.
that's what I always said Matt Castle's ceiling was, getting to the wild card playoffs or some sort of.
And that might have been overshooting things, even though he did do it once.
But. Yeah, getting to a playoff and losing. So.
Well, we'll see. That's what Andy Dalton's been for 2 years. So we'll see where they go.
They need another receiver too, opposite AJ Green. It's kind of like the Texans. They have Andre Johnson, but they don't have another wide receiver opposite him to take the pressure off him. They do have the nice running game with Arian Foster, and even Cincinnati lacks that. So. Well,
and now as we go into the other game of the weekend, which was Colts at Ravens, again, I don't like teams limping into the playoffs. The Ravens were limping into the playoffs. The Colts, though, going to Baltimore and Andrew Luck's first playoff game, I liked the Ravens in this game, but not. I think they dominated it. I mean, Ray Rice and Joe Flacco came back after struggling down the stretch, had a very good game. Andrew Luck could never really get on track. They moved the ball against the Baltimore Ravens.
And Anquan Bolden had about 130 yards receiving. So
the Colts just couldn't put the ball in the end zone.
Nope, they kept getting close, had to settle for field goals, and that was the doom. I mean, Andrew Luck threw, I believe, 54 times on that defense. They were being effective with Vic Ballard in the running game. I thought they should have gone to that more instead of, but then they get down and they lose by 15. I had the Ravens by 17. They end up winning by 15, and just wasn't really competition all day.
Well, tell me this: did your opinion of this game change when it was announced that Ray Lewis is going to announce his retirement at the end of the season?
No, because I did my video on the Wildcard playoffs before that announcement came out, and I had them by 17, and I felt that things would stay the same pretty much even after the announcement, that they definitely win by about 17.
Does the announcement change your opinion of the Ravens going forward in the playoffs?
Unfortunately, no, because of Joe Flacco. I mean, I like the energy that they brought and how they're wanting to win for Ray Lewis, this being his last year, announcing his retirement, but Joe Flacco's too inconsistent to get past the next round in the Denver Broncos.
There was a point in this season, right now, that I was almost ready to put Joe Flacco into the elite quarterback status. I know that I'm just telling it like it is. I was about ready to do that. Not so much anymore.
I mean, he had a nice game against the Colts, but he was throwing balls up there, and Anquan Bolden was going up against inferior competition, inferior cornerbacks talent-wise, and he was able to get some jump balls. Joe Flacco did have one nice deep ball down the right sideline, put it right in the breadbasket of Anquan Bolden, and he's known to have a good deep ball, but it's just the inconsistencies and putting the ball on the money every single time out there, and he's just too inconsistent. That's all you can say about him. Too inconsistent to be a franchise quarterback.
Talking about that, Andrew Luck on the other side, he gets his team to the playoffs with 11 wins. I mean, you can't say enough about what he brought to this Colts team with, to me, limited weapons. I know Reggie Wayne's a very good receiver, but he's aging, and they brought in their rookie tight end from Stanford,
Coby Fleener,
that he played with, and I think that
Dwayne Allen.
They have some good young talent. But you talk about the Dwight Freeneys of the world that are getting older, and
sky's the limit for this team, really. I'm not sure about Chuck Pagano as a coach.
Yeah.
I know they had the Chuck Strong thing, and they were playing hard for him, and wish him all the best. And the cancer stays in remission for him, and he's healthy going forward. Wishes out to Bruce Arians. He wasn't able to call the offensive plays. He's their offensive coordinator.
He just can't get it together. That coaching staff.
Yeah, he was sick too, and hopefully they were thinking he'd be released today. So hopefully he's released and fine. But I'm just not sure about that situation. But as far as Andrew Luck, I think sky's the limit for him.
Well, we're going to be previewing the divisional round later in the week. But just kind of a quick overview. We've got Texans visiting Patriots. We've got Ravens visiting Broncos. That one looks horrible to me on paper. And then in the NFC side, which to me are two toss-ups, is San Francisco hosting Green Bay, and then Seattle going to Atlanta. To me, the NFC side, any of those four teams to win the Super Bowl wouldn't shock me.
Packers beating the Niners, I don't know. With Colin Kaepernick, he's played up and down, so I guess it wouldn't shock me if the Packers won.
Well, the Packers have the better quarterback.
Yeah, but the 49ers have the better overall team.
I think so. I think that's safe to say.
That's why it's a toss-up.
But really. In a playoff game,
quarterback versus
Sometimes though in a playoff game, you just give me the better quarterback, and I'll take that.
I don't know. They have no running game, and they have no offensive line. You got Alden Smith out there running around causing havoc. They've got those killer safeties and Deshaun Goldston and Dante Whitner, and Kaepernick's playing well. They're going to have to improvise as well as watching his feet and how he scrambles. So that's going to be tough for the Packers defense. So it's going to be interesting.
On the other side, we have a 13-3 Falcons team hosting the 11-5 Seattle Seahawks.
12-5 now.
Well, you know what's so weird about that when you mention that, how playoff wins and stats just are never brought up or matter. Just exactly. You were an 11-5 team that year. The playoff loss or win that you had is never measured in the record. The stats you get in the playoffs are never recorded as part of your regular season. It's just kind of a weird thing about the NFL. But as the Seahawks go to Atlanta, this is, to me, the game of the weekend.
I agree. I thought it'd be even better if Chris Clemens didn't get injured. It looks like he may be lost for the rest of the year.
The pressure's on Atlanta. They haven't done it.
They have to win.
Matt Ryan hasn't done it. Tony Gonzalez has never done it, for gosh sakes.
Roddy White's coming out saying they're going to take care of business. They're going all the way to the Super Bowl, so that's big talk from him. We'll see probably him against Richard Sherman and Brandon Browner against Julio Jones. That'll be interesting. I don't think the Falcons have a run game. I think the wide receivers, that's kind of a toss-up there with them going up against Browner and Sherman. I look for the big matchup for the Falcons to try and take advantage of is Tony Gonzalez against those linebackers or Cam Chancellor or Earl Thomas. So,
what about Russell Wilson? This is a guy that it started the year with, okay, the Seahawks are better. This quarterback is sort of getting his feet wet.
Watch out.
All of a sudden, he's distributing the ball and playing really good football.
Russell Wilson's a stud, but he's got to watch out for Asante Samuel jumping routes.
Or picking off balls that have been tipped.
Yeah, I mean, if they're looking, they need to do some kind of double moves against him. Make sure that you see the receiver and make sure he's coming back to the ball. Do not throw a comeback to a guy that's being covered by Asante Samuel. He's going to jump and take it to the house. Beware of 22.
Don't forget about Sean Weatherspoon, a guy at linebacker who I think was snubbed by the Pro Bowl. Should have been a Pro Bowl linebacker this year. He calls all the plays for that Atlanta defense. He is the glue of the Falcons defense, and he's been flying around making plays. We'll see how he brings it this weekend. But boy, talking about Ravens at Broncos. The Broncos just absolutely crushed the Ravens in the regular season.
They didn't have Ray Lewis then, but
they may as well not physically have Ray Lewis now. He's not bringing much. I mean,
he had 13 tackles against the Colts.
He had a good game. His bionic arm might have cost him a pick.
Yeah, that definitely couldn't bring the left arm up there.
The way Denver's playing right now,
right arm.
Ravens going to Denver. I think that's an easy Denver win. We'll see.
I don't know about easy, but I mean, you always got Ed Reed back there. You got Ray Lewis this time. Suggs is playing. Suggs and Lewis are playing through injuries.
Ray Rice, healthy dose.
Yes, healthy dose of Ray Rice. You're going to have to get something out of Joe Flacco. He's going to have to be consistent for 4 quarters. He's going to have to play all 4 quarters.
You mean like Peyton Manning will be?
Distribute them. Yes, like Peyton Manning. And if he can do that, then the Ravens have a chance. But if he goes back to inconsistent Joe Flacco, then he may not get the deal he's looking for from the Ravens. He may have to go elsewhere, and that's going to be a huge storyline.
Well, Texans go to New England, a rematch of a game that took place on Monday Night Football just a couple of weeks ago. The Patriots just slaughtered the Texans. If had the Patriots not lost towards the end of the season to San Francisco, we'd be talking about this being the best team in the NFL and the surefire AFC representative in the Super Bowl. Has that changed in your mind? I still think New England is the team to beat.
I've got New England as the team to beat. I've got them in the Super Bowl. I've got them winning the Super Bowl against the Seahawks, 31-23. It's going to be tough if it's New England at Denver, but as far as this game against the Texans, I think the Texans have to kind of play double tight end set, ISO, and just try and feed Arian Foster 40 times. I mean, I just don't see him spreading the ball out and winning a game against the Patriots. I think they've got to control the ball, control the clock, and keep Tom Brady and that offense off the field.
I'm going to say something else. The New England offensive line has been underrated to me because this is kind of a patchwork group. Logan Mankins is getting it up there. Brian Waters did not come back. Nate Solder is still getting his bearings as the left tackle of this team.
Butt kicked.
They're holding up. They had a 1,000-yard rusher, a loser, a no-name.
Shane Vereen.
And, Vereen, and I think he has carried the load on the ground when they've had to.
And Stephen Ridley, and got Danny Woodhead.
And Woodhead being,
Brandon Bolden.
But let's look at it this way. Tom Brady in the playoffs, an unbelievable record, him and Belichick. The Texans coming in, they're going to have their defense anything but J.J. Watt has been disastrous down the stretch. J.J. Watt's a wonderful player. They're going to have to definitely keep an eye on that.
You got Gronk coming back. He played the last game of the year.
Gronkowski's coming back. This offense has been massacring people really since week 3 or 4 when they lost a couple games inexplicably. They are playing wonderfully, and I think they advanced. But again,
I do too. I've got
divisional
them crushing
games.
them,
All remains to be seen.
That it does, and we'll preview it and break it down more on Thursday.